martial arts for me was wushu, is kung fu, however we want to call it today, was the dream that I grew up on. It was another new experience to sort of enter into Chinese culture and learn more about China. The professor in the sports department, who was also the coach for the wushu martial arts team for the university, I said to him, would you take me on as your student? He said, okay, I'll take you on as my student. But you need to show up here every morning at 5:30. Doesn't matter if it's summer, winter, fall, spring. If you don't show up one day, that's it. For the next several years, I trained every morning with him. There were mornings he didn't show up. But he said, even if he doesn't show up, you have to do the practices and the exercises that I tell you to do. I didn't say anything, but I caught. And when he didn't show up, he showed up. He was like hiding behind a tree, and he was looking, was I really disciplined? Was I really doing it? And so forth like that. I could see him very far off in the corner of my eye. But I did it every day. There was the 1997 college championships. I went with the Beijing University team. I was doing the 9-jiu-jian, which is the 9-section chain whip. I won the gold medal. I took first place. Even to today, when you tell people that you were the national champion in 1997, oh, that was a foreigners competition, wasn't it? I said, no, that wasn't a foreigners competition. I was going to tell the Chinese. And it was probably one of the highlights of my life in general, certainly during my time in China. I ended up doing TV shows and performances for the university and magazines and covers and so forth like that. And people started to recognize you. And they're like, wow, this is the Lawai, this is the foreigner who won the gold medalist, who won first place. And I was honored. But I worked so hard. One time to do the Chunjie Wanhui for Beijing 电视台. It was the first time I was ever on TV. And somebody had came up with some sort of song called OK China. And it was my first time on TV. I was dressed in jeans and a shirt, I think it was, and there were 5 or 6 Chinese women wearing a qipao, surrounding me and dancing around me. And it was interesting because they would replay it. They were reruns. And it was, there weren't that many TV stations back then, so they were all rerunning other programs and so forth. And like 9 months later, I had a friend of mine call me from Yunnan province, and he said, wow, we just saw you the other night on TV. I was like, which show? I was like, the Chunjie Wanhui show. And I was like, you're kidding me. I called up my friend from Beijing television and I said, please, no more. Please, you can't send that anymore. The TV had certainly changed a lot of my life in China. It was interesting. I had a very close friend of mine who I went to college with, who later ended up in China with me. And he said to me, he said, Peter, he would go around with me, and I introduced him to all these people, and people would know me and so forth like that. And I was just about getting ready to come back to the States. And he says, are you ready to go back to the States? And I said, what do you mean? Of course I'm ready to go back to the States. I'm going to Columbia Law School, I see my family more. He's like, no, are you really ready? And I said, why? He says, you do realize, when you go back to the States, you're nobody. No one's going to know you. You're just, again, average Peter studying in law school and so forth. Here, you're, I don't want to say you're a rock star, but people know you. And I was like, you know what? I never thought of it that way. But the return was easy, and it was certainly it was easy, but it was sad.